Morning, all. So today is waiver day. 43 players put on waivers altogether. I wasn't filling the boards with them because a lot of the guys will pass through with no problem. So I thought, well, put up the ones that are interesting. And you have to be on waivers before you can be assigned to the taxi squad. So you have your 23-man roster, you have your taxi squad, and then you have your American Hockey League. Anybody who's not going to be on the 23-man roster has to be put on waivers. Not only that, but if you grab a guy on waivers, you can't then put him on your taxi squad. You have to put him back on waivers. And then the first crack at getting him belongs to the team who lost the player. So if you want Noah Juleson, he has to have a spot in your 23-man roster. I'm surprised at seeing Juleson on waivers for Montreal. Jordan Wheel doesn't entirely surprise me. Dauphin, Charlie Lindgren on waivers. There are some interesting names there. There may very well be a team that looks at one of those four, especially Juleson, and says, yeah, we could see that as an upgrade over what we have in our lineup. Romanov has officially made the team, and it looks like he'll be on the third pairing. And so here we go. For Montreal, rookies in the lineup, and it looks like they're deciding he's ready, and Juleson's going to get waived out. Now, on the Oilers, Cracknell and Griffith are the two that were put on the waiver wire, and of course Cracknell was picked up, comes back from the KHL. Not an entirely huge surprise to see him on the waiver wire. I would expect him on the taxi squad. Same for Seth Griffith. These are guys who have NHL experience. It won't be a huge shock bringing them up, and it doesn't really hurt them having them on the taxi squad either. Ottawa surprised me a little bit, kind of sort of. Maxime Lajoie being on waivers. At this stage, with the amount of blue chip prospects they've got coming in, with the veterans that they've added, if Lajoie gets taken on waivers by somebody else, and he could be, he's the kind of guy that I could see Yzerman grabbing. There's some potential there, but he's not really a blue chip prospect. We'll see what happens. I could see Lajoie going, but it won't hurt Ottawa if he does. Stützle is playing with Stepan and Dadonov. What's interesting with that, of course, is Dadonov picked up as a free agent, Stepan picked up in a trade, and Stützle drafted. All three of those players have never played a game in the regular season with Ottawa before. So yeah, Ottawa's going to be able to throw completely different looks at teams. They're going to have a completely new lineup for them, up front, defensively, and in net. It's going to be fascinating to see how it comes together. If this line has chemistry, and I mean Stepan's a good veteran player, Dadonov has offensive skill, and of course Stützle is just dazzling out there. This could be a fun line to watch, if that's how it ends up. Calgary, their waiver wire includes Louis Domingue, Alex Petrovic, Buddy Robinson, also on waivers. No real surprises there. Again, it's about highlighting guys who might be of interest to another team in the league. But again, that team has to see that player as being part of their 23-man roster. It doesn't make any sense. We're going to take him and then put him right back on waivers. I've seen it, and it's bewildering, but I've seen it. Minnesota, their waiver list includes Matt Bartkowski, Andrew Hammond, Gerald Mayhew, and Dakota Mermis. Every year Hammond signs a contract. Every year people say, look at that, Andrew Hammond's got... It's like every year Hammond ends up on the waiver wire. People remember the Hamburglar. They remember that run with Ottawa. Since then, he has spent most of his time in the minors. And he's likely going to be on the taxi squad as well. Minnesota also announcing that Marco Rossi is out indefinitely with an upper body injury. I don't think he'd finished the quarantine process and got on the ice with them yet. So it must have happened during the tournament. It must have happened during the World Juniors. If the plan was to have him in the lineup, that's going to hurt Minnesota. I'm sure that Bill Guerin has some kind of a backup plan in there as well. If that was the plan A, I'm sure there's a plan B. So Rossi being out indefinitely with an upper body injury, that does hurt. That hurts the depth down the middle. The Islanders surprised no one in putting Josh Ho-Sang on waivers. This is that annual moment where if you're a fan that thinks that Ho-Sang belongs in the NHL, you can go ahead and mention in the comment section why your team should pick up Josh Ho-Sang. And then when it doesn't happen, we could talk about which people are surprised it didn't happen. But Ho-Sang, I would expect to clear waivers. I can't see anybody picking him up. The Islanders, of course, didn't invite him to training camp because Lou Lamoriello just didn't see the point. And that's where we're at between Ho-Sang and the Islanders. That they'll keep paying him money, but not to play in the National Hockey League. And they're not really seeing him as part of their future at all. And I would imagine that feeling is mutual, that Ho-Sang doesn't see the Islanders in his future. So it's just weird that they're holding his rights and he's, yeah, it's bizarre. I think the sooner you get this over with, the better, but I'm not sure what the solution is. Pittsburgh, Zach Trotman's on waivers. Interesting name for, people who remember Zach Trotman has played NHL games, has been a depth defenseman. The Vancouver Canucks, of course, made news this morning as well. So the Vancouver Canucks have become the latest team to close up training for the day, close up shop for the day. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. The interesting thing is, of course, Pittsburgh's reopened today. Columbus reopened yesterday. Abundance of caution, it would appear to be that this is an exposure event where it may be somebody's family member tested positive. And so out of an abundance of caution, they close things up and they say, all right, so we're going to hold it down for now. I don't know how this is going to work during the regular season. We've already had 4 teams just, have to close things down. I have no idea how this is going to work during the regular season. I get the caution thing, but are we going to see games getting moved around every day? Is this just how that's going to work? Anyways, so they're closed for today. I would expect the Canucks to be reopened tomorrow and for this to kind of blow over, but yeah, we just don't know, right? So yeah, Vancouver closed down for today. Columbus, as I said, they reopened. Del Zotto has also signed with them a 1-year, $700,000 contract. Now, Del Zotto on a league minimum contract, there's no risk to that, of course, for Columbus, and it gives them extra depth on the blue line. So we're going to start seeing guys who are on tryouts get released or signed. And it's probably going to be a surprise as to which ones get released compared to which ones get signed. Every year it's the same thing, where somebody will get released and we'll say, hey, wait, that guy got released, but he's better than that guy, isn't he? Just the way that works. So yeah, Columbus adds Del Zotto. Speaking of adding players, the Anaheim Ducks have Zegras and Drysdale at their training camp. Now I have to say this, Jamie Drysdale and Bowen Byram were excellent together at the World Juniors. If Drysdale can bring that level of compete, if he can bring that skill level into camp, he has an outside shot at making the Ducks roster. And it's possible that with the situation we're in where, WHL's only playing 24 games, OHL's closed down, we could see guys getting held onto by their NHL rosters longer than normally might be the case. We may see some guys sticking around because if you're an NHL team and you've got, let's say Drysdale, and you're looking at him, you're going, okay, well, he's not quite ready, but we don't really have anywhere to send him. So we're better off to have him here, have him as a healthy scratch, even if that's the case, and just to have him around, because if we cut him, if we demote him, he has nowhere to play, potentially until next October, or he might play a couple of dozen games between now and next October. We're better off to keep him around. So we may see that happen with some junior age players. And not only that, but Drysdale may very well be more NHL ready than we may have thought. Again, you don't want to read too much into the World Juniors, but Zegras, come on. He looked fantastic. So Zegras should be part of the Ducks opening night roster, and that's good news. It's good news that we're going to start to see some young prospects coming in for the Ducks, a team that spent many years at or near the top of the league, and now that rebuild has finally taken place, and we're starting to see the benefits of that. Speaking of training camps, Colorado, Connor Timmins has turned some heads with how well he's played at training camp. Now, if he does end up in that top 4, that'll be a very young top 4, so there's going to be mistakes made by that top 4, but it does potentially open up trade avenues for Joe Sakic. And then it makes you wonder, too, like, okay, so if Timmins ends up in the top 4, does Byram end up on a third pair, or does Byram end up being a healthy scratch? Because, again, Byram, it's the same case that I was making for Drysdale. Where are you sending him if you demote him? So we'll see what happens with that Colorado blue line, but Timmins has apparently been very impressive at camp. We'll see how it translates when the games matter. In 3 days, we are 3 days out from the start of the season. I'm kind of excited. And yeah, 43 players on waivers today. Expect more players on waivers tomorrow. Everybody that was put on waivers yesterday cleared. It is possible that we'll be talking about a lot of players being claimed tomorrow. It's also possible maybe it'll be one or two. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, if you commented on that video last night where I talked about teams I'm looking forward to watching personally, and you said I'm wrong, by all means, if you want to check out my Spotify list, tell me which music I should be listening to instead. That's appreciated. If you want to go through my Netflix queue and tell me, nope, those are all wrong. Those are not movies you need to be watching. That's greatly appreciated. Because I think in this day and age, when you're doing a video on what you're interested in and what you want to watch and what you want to partake in, it's really important for complete strangers to say, actually, you don't. That's not what you want to do. It's really weird. I understand, like with power rankings, when people say, oh, you've got this wrong and that wrong. Fine, that's good. That's the debate I like. But when it's, here's what I'm excited to see, and people say, nah, oh, okay, I thought I was. I thought that's what okay, cool. So I've had a good chuckle. Thank you very much, Internet, for always being there to give me a good laugh here and there. Thanks again, and I will talk to you again soon.